Alone, when I was a kid, I used to dream of going into space. I'd lie in bed imagining the endless blackness, staring down at Earth from far above, weightless and free. That dream consumed me.
By the time I was 12, I had already decided I would be an astronaut, and I dedicated my life to it.
I studied harder than anyone else I knew, sacrificing everything. While my friends were out having fun, I was locked in my room, poring over books on physics, astronomy, and the mechanics of space travel. By the time my classmates had their first kiss, I could explain the principles behind shuttle flight in more detail than most adults.
I spent my free time watching realistic sci-fi movies, reading technical manuals, anything that could fuel my obsession.
I graduated high school as a straight-A student and carried that momentum into college.
Every step I took was part of the plan.
I got my master's in engineering, then landed a job at NASA, doing my 3 years of professional EXP.
When the chance came, it was beyond anything I could have imagined.
A probe beyond Jupiter had picked up an unusual signal, something no one could explain.
And just as suddenly, the signal stopped. The scientific community buzzed with speculation, but no one had any answers.
NASA planned to send another probe, but a billionaire, obsessed with the idea of extraterrestrial life, stepped in. He offered to fund a crewed mission. He believed this was his ticket to make history, the first contact with an alien species. NASA didn't hesitate. They put together a team, and I was chosen as the head engineer.
I was finally going to space. After more than 30 years of dreaming and waiting, it was happening.
My family threw me a big party, and I hugged them goodbye, promising to return with stories that would blow their minds.
They had no idea what I was really heading into.
None of us did.
The media swarmed us before launch.
It was a circus, reporters asking ridiculous questions about aliens and hope.
In the weeks leading up to the mission, I couldn't sleep.
My mind raced with possibilities.
When launch day came, I felt a mix of terror and excitement. We took our final photos, shook hands, and then it was time.
The engines roared beneath us, the vibrations rattling my bones, and in an instant, we were off the planet. The rush of it was beyond words. But once we broke free of Earth's atmosphere, the excitement quickly faded, replaced by the cold reality of space.
The ship was cramped and claustrophobic. No matter how generous the billionaire had been with his funding,
5 of us floating in a metal box for years on end.
It didn't take long to adjust though.
We had food, water, books enough to keep us occupied.
But the days bled into each other, and the darkness outside seemed to close in on us. After 8.5 years, we reached the place where the signal had been picked up just beyond Jupiter.
We found the probe floating there, dead and silent.
From the outside, it looked fine, no damage. No sign of anything unusual.
But something had clearly happened.
We needed to investigate further. I was chosen to do the spacewalk.
Of course, it was me.
I was the most experienced, and I wanted it. I dreamed of this moment my entire life.
I suited up and stepped into the airlock, my hands shaking with anticipation. When the outer door opened, I pushed off and drifted into the void. There's nothing like it being alone out there, surrounded by nothing. But even in that emptiness, I felt something watching me. I reached the probe and began my inspection.
Everything seemed normal.
I reported this back to the crew, but as I floated there, something changed. At first, it was just a feeling, a cold unease creeping into my bones.
Then I saw it, a flicker of light in Jupiter's atmosphere.
It pulsed, growing brighter, larger, like it was alive, and it was coming toward us. I alerted the crew, and we all watched as the light swelled, moving faster, like it had a purpose. At first, someone suggested it was just a reflection, but as it grew closer, I could see it wasn't. This thing, it was intelligent. I don't know how I knew, but I did.
It wasn't just a storm or a natural phenomenon. It was something else.
It was hunting us.
I screamed for the crew to move the ship, but there was no time. The light struck the hull with a flash, and the entire ship seemed to shimmer, wrapped in the glow. Sparks danced around it, and then, just like that, the light was gone.
Silence. I called out to the crew, but there was no response. My voice echoed inside my helmet, but nothing came back.
Panic gripped me.
I tried the radio again, over and over, but the only sound was my own breath, growing faster, more desperate. And then I saw it, the ship.
It was drifting, not under its own power, but being pulled toward Jupiter. I screamed for them to move, to fire the thrusters, but nothing happened.
The engines were dead. There was nothing I could do but watch as the ship was dragged down, closer and closer to the planet's surface.
It started to burn, the hull glowing red, then orange, then white, as it disappeared beneath the clouds. And then, nothing. They were gone. All of them. And I was alone.
You might wonder how I survived, how I'm telling you this story now.
But the truth is, I'm not telling it to anyone. No one will ever hear this. No one will ever know what happened to us. I was too far from the ship when the light hit. Far enough that I wasn't pulled into Jupiter's atmosphere.
But now I'm stranded, floating in the void with no way to move.
My suit has about 7 hours of oxygen left.
After that, I'll lose consciousness. Then I'll die.
7 hours.
That's all I have. But in the vast, endless darkness of space, 7 hours feels like forever.
There's no one out here. No sound. No life. Just me. Alone with my thoughts. As I drift further into the cold black, I've never felt more alone.
And in these final hours, as my mind slips into despair, I can't stop thinking about that light.
That flickering alien light. What was it? What did it want? And why did it let me live? Like and follow, please.